In today's video, we're going to be going over the upcoming pattern where we see severe storminess out west, including flooding and major snowstorms. In the east, we're going to be taking a look at a warmer, drier pattern expected to turn around here sometime around the 10th of February, turning colder and much snowier. Now, before we dive right into things, obviously, I did my face reveal yesterday. We talked about my mom's health condition in the GoFundMe. You guys have raised almost $3,000 now as I'm recording this video, and I never expected it would even be close to that. And I am so appreciative. I couldn't be more thankful for all of you and the love and the prayers and the donations, all of it. It's been so helpful. I'm happy to let you guys know that there has been massive improvement in my mom's health from yesterday to today due to some medical intervention, of course. Pretty non-invasive. Thankfully, it's really brought her back to being herself, and I think that the prayers had a lot to do with that, if I'm being completely transparent. Obviously the donations are based on costs that have already occurred, so that is still very needed and much appreciated. I've been thinking a lot, and I want to start my own foundation for situations like this because it's just been so touching and moving just how much the prayers and the donations have helped out my family, not only with peace of mind, but obviously the financial side of things. And I want to start something to where you guys can, in tough times, especially related to medical instances, reach out and email us and get sponsored basically to where we can reach the masses with these cases so people can read about it. And if they feel inclined, donate, or at the very least be praying and getting the word out there about these situations that people are going through. I realized in doing this, I obviously did it for my family, and I think any of us would, right, if we're being honest, but it's really still just to help my family, and I want to make a way to where I can help other families and other people that are going through similar situations. And I plan on reaching out to other YouTubers that I know within my industry to maybe come together and get this really out to people, to where people in need can reach out and help. Definitely, if you have any thoughts on that, let me know in the comments, as I'm in the thinking stage now, but it's definitely something I intend on going through with to help others and use obviously the massive following that I've built up over the years to do good, not just for myself, but for other people in times of need. Thank you so much for listening. I know every video lately has started out with something like that. I'm going to add a way for people to skip through. I know there's so many of you that just, want just the quick information, and here we're going to get into it. Let's just do it. But we see that as we're reaching later this afternoon, thankfully this video is coming out earlier, we already have some storms moving onshore to the west here. So definitely a pretty serious situation out there as we see the beginning of the flooding and the snowfall already occurring there. We see that there is a little bit of a coastal system here offshore of the southeast. This is bringing some dreary weather, cloudiness, and some showers along the coast. We also have some cooler air along the eastern seaboard right here. Not enough to bring snowfall right now, but definitely cooler than things have been. That low kind of slides right off the coast, and by the time we're reaching tomorrow afternoon on Thursday, February 1st, we have snowfall and rainfall up and down the west coast here, especially the Sierra Nevada mountains there. We're seeing heavy snowfall as anticipated, of course. Very quiet in the east, and that's going to be the trend here for a little while. We can see that by the time we're reaching Friday on the 2nd here, we've seen this low kind of do a curve up, and this curve definitely adds a lot of extra time for snowfall to fall in here, and even underneath the low in here. And that's leading towards more total snowfall and impacts overall with these systems. This kind of spreads eastward. I think that we do have a severe weather and thunderstorm risk within here by the time we're reaching Friday, or better yet, Saturday here on February 3rd. Something to watch as we still have very heavy snowfall here, severe weather on the eastern end, and a pretty strong low right over Colorado. So again, severe weather, snowfall on the back end. That's what we're looking at here for Saturday on the 3rd. On Sunday on the 4th here, what we end up seeing is that there's a lot of thunderstorm activity happening in here for the plains, the deep south, and even into the southeast. Definitely a very serious situation there. We have heavy snowfall up and down the kind of northern Rockies there, and we have our next low pressure system ready to come on shore here by the time we're reaching the 5th, which it's on shore now by February 5th, as you can see. Heavy snowfall in there for the Sierra Nevada mountains, obviously the Cascades as well, and then snowfall deeper inland as well. So definitely a pretty interesting situation. Thursday, or better yet, Tuesday here on the 6th, what we see is that there is a low offshore of California again. Snowfall starting back up again, and this is just kind of continuing with the trends of things. We see that that first low is now, it's made its way kind of where it's like slipped up and down, but it's slipped off the southeast coast, and it really doesn't look to ride too much up the coast. I think that it's going to have trouble doing so, and I think it's going to slip right off that southeast coast, as you can see, just like that. Meanwhile, we do get an upper Midwest low pressure system from low number 2 here that's kind of taking a track like this. And this does have some snowfall implications here for the upper Midwest, northern plains, and some of the Great Lakes as well. And by the time we're reaching later on Friday, this is the end of this model run, and we can see another storm system impacting the west, and then this upper Midwest system. So really, the trend here is warmer temperatures in the east and almost no activity as you work your way further north than, let's say, Georgia and South Carolina, where we do get that one low, but anywhere north of there, we're not really seeing much on this European model run. Thankfully, our GFS American model does get us further into the pattern, so let's take a look at this. And as we're taking a look here, we see these lows for the west. I don't want to dive too much into that because there's not really anything different here on this model as opposed to the European through that time. Although once we get to hours 240, here this is where the European model ended, we do see that we instantly get a low moving towards the east after this point, right around the 12th here. So I kept mentioning yesterday after the 10th is a time to watch. This is certainly a time to watch as well. 998 there over Canada. We do have cold air pouring into the central states at this point. And we're actually going to be watching for a potential snow system here as this cold air finally moves eastward for February 14th. So if you're wondering when that cold and snow is going to be returning, this is a potential date to be watching, as we have this pretty big and intense trough here in the east and also a strong low here over North Carolina. This is a classic El Nino pattern in my opinion. And then we have this really big ridge out here. Again, I mentioned it yesterday. I'm going to mention it again today. We do expect a positive PNA after the 10th, negative AO, and negative NAO. If you don't know what that means, don't worry. All three of them point towards cold and snow in the east and warm ridging out west after the 10th. Before that, we have the opposites, and that's why there's cold and snow out there, warmth and no snow in the east. So again, we're moving into an opposite pattern approximately after the 10th. We do see that this low does take on some coastal characteristics as a 970 millibar low pressure center, classic stuff, over the mid-Atlantic and southeast, as well as some of southern New England. And then that one tries to move up the coast, but it's a little too far east. There's a lot of time for things to change here, guys, so take it with a grain of salt, of course. Those specific details aren't crucial as much as really just coastal lows being a trend and colder air in the east. Those are the things that we really could hold true with over time. And also this ridge out west is going to be a big factor as well in getting the jet stream to ridge out there, trough in the east. This is all really, really big as far as developing the upcoming pattern. The precipitation on the European model here over the next 10 days, a ton out west, no surprise there. And even the plains into the southeast here, we're dealing with quite a bit. It's really the Ohio Valley, mid-Atlantic, and northeast where we see almost nothing here through the 10th. And then total snowfall, of course, with no precipitation. That equals no snow, of course, for this area. But out west, we get tons of snowfall here, talking about potentially 4 or 5 feet for the Sierra Nevada mountains, potentially 2 to 5 feet for the Rockies, and a foot or two there for the Cascades and the higher elevations. Now, as we transition to the GFS model through that same exact amount of time, you might not even be able to tell that I changed it to the GFS, but if you look at the top left, I surely have. It looks identical through hours 240, which is obviously 24 times 10 equals 10 days. Probably didn't have to explain that, but just so you know, easy thing to remember. But after we get through this point, watch how the snow just instantly starts to build up in the east here. Look at that. We see a pretty major snowstorm take place in there, and we get our first little bits of snowfall returning here to the east just after that 10th time frame on this model, potentially 1 or 2 feet if something like that was to occur. Again, specific details aren't important. We know that potential storm systems and cold is moving eastward. That's the more confident thing, and that would likely equal snow. So don't worry too much about the location, amounts, things of that nature. It's more of a bigger picture view here when we're talking about the long range, and that bigger picture is more chance at cold, more chance at snow after the 10th. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe as we do upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video.